Hey, what's up? Welcome back. Patrick here. Moving on to the next question. This one's going to be a bit of a word problem dealing with domain and range. And initially when you read this word problem, it looks a little bit complex or sounds complex, but it's actually going to end up being a very simple relation, as you'll see. So what it says here is a relation between x and y consists of all points x, y, where the distance between each of the points x, y to the origin is going to be 3. And so in part A, we have to write the equation for this relation. Part B, we have to figure out whether these points, these coordinates here, are going to be on the relation. And then we have to state whether the relation is going to be a function or not. So let's read this carefully one more time. So what they're saying is that this relation is going to be all the points where the distance to the points to the origin is going to be 3. So we're going to have a point here that's going to have a distance of 3. There's going to be a point here that's going to have a distance of 3. A point here that's going to have a distance of 3, right? A point here where the distance from that point to the origin is 3. And so if you think about all the points where that happens, well, if you think about it, this is basically just a circle, right? That has a radius of 3. Right, so over here, for example, we're going to have 0 and 3. We're going to have -3 and 0 over here, right? This is going to be 0, -3. This is going to be 3 and 0. And then we have all these other points over here. And actually in part B, we're going to be checking whether the points that they give us are going to actually be on this circle. But the most important part to recognize is that this description of a paragraph is basically describing a circle, right? So as I said, when you read it first, sounds complex, but when you actually get into the details, they're just basically describing a circle. And a circle that has a center at the origin, actually that's another thing I want to mention, the center was the origin, right? Because they said the distance from the origin to all these points is 3, meaning that the center is the origin. And then just in general, the equation for a circle that is centered at the origin is basically x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared, or the radius squared. Well, the radius is 3 in this case. And so the equation is basically x squared plus y squared is equal to 9. And then moving on to part B, what we have to figure out is, are these points going to be on this circle or not? And the way you want to do that is you basically want to take these points, so starting off with this first one, 1 and 3, you want to take the x value and the y value, and you want to plug it into the relation, the equation that we got in part A. And you want to plug those in and then basically see, does the left side equal the right side? And if they don't equal, then the point is not going to be on the circle. If they do equal, the point is going to be on the circle. So starting with 1 and 3, if I plug in 1 for x, if I plug in 3 for y, well, notice on this left side here, we're going to get 10. And notice that 10 definitely doesn't equal 9. And so this point, 1 and 3, is not going to be on this circle that has a radius of 3. And another thing I want to mention is, if plugging in the point, if this left side ends up being greater than the right side, greater than the r squared, if it's greater than, the point is actually going to be outside of the circle, more specifically. I know they're not asking that, but thought I would mention it. So where this point is going to be 1 and 3, so let's say the x value is like 1 here, this point is going to be like right there, okay? Because we know this point here is 0 and 3, because this circle has a radius of 3. And so we know these 2 points have to have the same y value. Well, 1 and 3 is going to be on the outside of the circle, right? Because this left side is greater than that r squared, greater than that 9, greater than that right side, right? And then if you get the left side being less than, then it's going to be inside the circle. If they're equal, it's going to be on the circle, right? So let's see what happens with this next point, -1 and -2. So if I plug in -1 for x, make sure you put it in brackets, -2, plug it in for y. Let's see, is that going to equal 9? Well, -1 squared is 1, -2 squared is 4, so 5. We get 5 here. That definitely doesn't equal 9, and notice that in this case it's less than that right side. So we know this point -1 and -2, so -1 is like over here. -2, let's say, is over here. This point is going to be inside the circle. Okay, moving on to the next one. So we got 0 and -3. Well, 0 squared plus -3 squared, is that going to equal 9? 0 plus 9, yes, they do equal. So 0, -3, and that's actually the y-intercept down here. So that one was pretty easy. You could just kind of look at it and see, because you know the x and the y-intercepts is going to be the radius pretty much, right? This is 0 and 3, this is 0, -3, this is going to be -3 and 0, this is going to be +3 and 0. So 0, -3 is definitely on the circle. And then what about this one here, this -√5? Let's actually do it in green as well. So this one, well, if we do it down here, we got -√5 squared plus 2 squared. Is that going to equal 9? Well, -√5 squared, notice that's just going to be +5, right? Root of something squared is just going to be whatever's under that root. The root and the squared cancel each other out, and then the negative, when you square it, becomes a positive. So this ends up being 5 plus 4. Notice that it does equal, right? Left side equals right side. So we know that this point, -√5 and 2, is going to be on the circle. -√5, that's like what? -2 point something. So let's say that's like over here. And then +2, a y value +2, is going to be somewhere around there, right? This is not to scale necessarily, but that's where the point is going to be, and it's going to be on the circle. And then they are asking in part C, is this relation a function? Well, we know a circle, it fails the vertical line test, right? At multiple points, so we know that this relation is not a function. Right, so just an example of where you had a word problem and then you had to convert it or recognize that it basically gives you the relation, which is a circle. And that is the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you want to find more videos like this, you can go to my website, allthingsmathematics.com. Over there, all my courses are organized for both high school and university. All the videos are organized by chapter. Also, if you have any questions, you can hit me up. My contact details are also on the website. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.